I'm not Martin Luther King, but I had a dream. A dream to start a YouTube channel. A dream to transform my life and live on my terms. But dreams don't just come true because you want them to. Before I started YouTube, I had ideas. I had hopes. The plan was simple. The expectations were big. All I had to do was start, and after a few months, I would see the fruit of my labor. I would be able to change my life. They say all you have to do is be consistent, and after a little while, the checks will start coming in. It sounded simple enough. Months passed by, and I kept telling myself that it would come at any time. How could it not? Anyone could do it, they said. Looking on YouTube, it seemed like everyone else was able to do it. There were dozens of videos of people showing how easy it was for them to monetize and how much money they were now making. But why wasn't it working for me? Months went by. Nothing. I watched everyone else's success stories while my videos sat at 30 views apiece. And that's when I realized the advice to just be consistent was a little bit misleading. There was something else going on, something nobody was talking about. When I started out on YouTube, I think my expectations were a little bit off. I saw the videos, I watched the videos that other people would do, and they would tell you, give you advice on how to start YouTube and how to succeed on YouTube and what you needed to do. And a lot of the advice that I would hear was just be consistent, don't quit, was the main advice that you would hear. And maybe the advice has changed a little bit. I mean, there's other advice out there, but that was a lot of advice that I would hear consistently was if you just put content out once a week, twice a week, or whatever, just be consistent, then your audience is going to find you. It's not going to be that difficult. So I had this idea that I could just put content out, didn't really have to focus on much else except, just putting something out every week. And what I found out after about 6 months was that doesn't work. It didn't work for me. Maybe it works for others, but it wasn't working for me. So that's when I started to pursue more knowledge on YouTube, and I started to try to figure out what exactly makes YouTube work, or how the algorithm worked, or what made a video good. Why would people want to watch a certain video more than others? So I started to look into the psychology of what makes people watch, and I started getting coaching from other creators that were higher up than me, and I just started learning a lot more about YouTube. And after a while, I had put kind of everything I had learned over that time, put all that effort into a video, and had a video on my channel that for me went viral. It hit about 30,000 views, which for me was huge. So it really changed the way I looked at YouTube and the way I looked at creating my videos and how I was doing the strategy on my channel. So here's what I learned after being on YouTube for a year. A lot of the advice that's out there to shoot consistently and just post. They say don't give up and you'll be all right. That wasn't the case for me, not in my first year at least, and maybe that's the case if I just keep on going year after year. At some point, it'll break through, but I wanted to move the needle a little faster, and I think my expectations for growing were higher than what they actually were. So I thought that 6 months of just posting consistently would get me views, get me subscribers, and I'd be on my way, but that was not the case. And after studying things that were skill-based, they weren't really moving the needle for me. Things like how to edit better, getting better with your camera and all that, better settings on your camera and that stuff. But one thing that I didn't expect to learn that I did was the ability to connect with people. And I think this is true for just about any channel, that the connection with your audience is the most important thing. And I mean, that sounds obvious, but I mean it in more of a way of, how do you present yourself? How do you present your story? How do you present your ideas, and how do they come across to the viewer? Are they getting something out of it, the value that they're getting out of it? And how do you deliver that value consistently and over time get them to like you and watch your videos and all that? So one of the main things that I learned was to get them to click into the video first. You know, the CTR, or they call it the packaging, was really important. So you got to have an idea that people want to see. That you're not going to get any views if you don't have something presentable to click on. So that was the first thing. But I think more important than that is the storytelling aspect that we all kind of overlook or don't put enough into. The psychology of how people connect with other people. And so once I started to understand that there's a structure to how you present something, then that really unlocked things for me and helped me to start to see that YouTube can actually work for me and I can connect with people. I just have to understand the right way to do it. And once I started to understand that and started to get that structure to it, that's when comments started showing up in my videos. My first 30 videos or 50 videos, maybe even, I don't remember where it was, but I never really got anybody to talk to me in my comments. But once I started to understand the story structure and I started to be able to present my ideas better, that's when people started to connect and they started to leave me comments. And that's when I started to see things change for my channel. So this is something that I've been working on for probably a year now, is this structure of how do you tell a better story, or I don't know if I like to use the word story because it's not really a story, it's more of a structure, but how do you get your thoughts across better? And so I keep developing this structure and I'm using one now. I actually have it in the description. There's a link in there to get the free structure that I used for this video and I've been using for the last few videos. And it helps you go through and get your thoughts out on the paper and get the ideas in a way that it makes more sense to the viewer, and it presents the ideas in a way that's engaging. So the truth is, YouTube is a lot harder than I thought it would be. But you don't need fancy gear. You don't need all these settings. You don't need to watch video after video. All you need to do is understand how to present your story, your ideas. Once you are able to get that into a structure, then you can use that over and over to create better videos. And once you start it, it's kind of a learning process, but once you start it, you start to get better and better. And you progress in the story aspect of it, or you are able to connect with people more and more as you go through. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.